All right, y'all. Glad to have you back for another episode of the Total Retirement Game Plan, where we talk about how you can have permission to live more and leave your mark and live an elevated lifestyle throughout your retirement. Here's what we're talking about today. Is it time to consolidate your retirement accounts? This is a question we get from a lot of people. Hey, I've got a 401k here, an IRA there. I've got some taxable accounts over here. I've got a Roth over there. And I feel pretty good because I've got it diversified well. Look, just because you've got it spread out doesn't necessarily mean you're diversified. Maybe you've got that junk drawer and it's a little bit more disorganized than it is diversified. One of the things that we like to talk about is over time, right? You could have a collection of accounts, but there could be a lot of overlap even though you feel like it's spread out pretty good and it's diversified. Maybe there's some lost visibility, or maybe there's even a way to reduce fees, right, by consolidating and bringing things together. So today we're going to talk about, okay, does consolidation actually help me long term? Can I have a more diversified portfolio? Can I have better visibility on what's going on? Could I even reduce my fees? And does this make sense for me to make a decision to consolidate these accounts? Let's talk about some of the hidden costs of a disorganized portfolio. One of the biggest things we see is overlap. Right? You may be holding the same funds in 3 or 4 different accounts. It's important to understand, even though you may have multiple accounts, is your strategy actually diversified, or do you just have overlap in those accounts? Fees can be pretty sneaky little things. Many times, the more money you have with a firm, the lower your fees will be. That's one way to do it, right? Other times you may be holding certain exchange traded funds and or mutual funds where you could use one that's very similar but has a lower expense ratio. So you could reduce the fees that you're paying out of pocket or out of your account to cover that. Another thing is just something we call strategy drift, meaning if we're not proactively going in and rebalancing, right? If there's one part of our portfolio that does really, really well and another that doesn't do so well, we may get over concentrated in one area, and from a long-term risk standpoint, that may not be appropriate. So over time, we do need to have a proactive process to rebalance and bring things back in alignment with your long-term goals and your long-term diversification strategy. So strategy drift is something else that's tough to monitor if we have too much disorganization or things are spread out too much. So those are some of the hidden costs of a disorganized portfolio. So as we look at potentially consolidating and does it make sense, why is simplifying often a good financial decision? I think biggest thing, the more visibility you have, the better decision-making opportunities you have. The more options you have, the slower we make decisions. It actually makes sense to simplify the decision-making process. More visibility is going to help you do that so that you can make better decisions going forward. We hit on this earlier, but you may be able to reduce your fees and unlock lower investment options. The more you have with a firm may give you access to better things, and your overall fee may get reduced because you may hit different tier breakpoints with that particular firm. It is going to help simplify any of your income planning and your required minimum distributions. Let's say you got 3 401ks and you hit required minimum distribution age. Now you got to go set up 3 separate withdrawals from each of those 401ks. You do have the ability to consolidate your IRA total and take it from one, but you do not have that ability with 401ks. And then even just from an income planning standpoint, if let's say you've got one account that's tax deferred, one that's taxable, one that's tax free, maybe a Roth IRA, now it's going to be much simpler to understand how much you can pull from each one and what are the tax consequences of that going to be. Consolidation is going to help you stay aligned with your long-term goals. Having the ability to see everything in one snapshot, one page, is going to help you, again, have that greater visibility so that you can make sure you're aligned with your long-term goals. If it's easy to track how much is coming out of your accounts because you only have to look at 2 or 3 of them versus 7 or 8 of them, you'll have a better understanding of, am I withdrawing too much? Could I take more? What's possible for my plan? 3 steps you could take today. All right. You could roll over old 401ks or consolidate IRAs where appropriate. If you have 3 IRAs, you can make that into one account. If you got a couple of old 401ks, we used to refer to these as the strays. If you got a few of those, you can consolidate those into one, right? You can make sure to look at your holdings for any redundancy or overlapping funds. Right, if you have an S&P 500 in all of your accounts, do you need to own that in every one of your accounts? Even from a tax standpoint, are you holding the right funds in the right type of taxable account so that you can have long-term success and reduce what you're going to pay to Uncle Sam? And then thirdly, you can work with a professional to optimize the allocation and the strategy. Right? That's what our team does every single day. We sit down with good, down-to-earth people that have worked hard, they've saved, and in retirement, they want to live more and leave their mark. They want to have permission to do the things that they love doing, and they like working with a team to accomplish those things. They understand the value of having teammates, having specialists in your corner to help execute your long-term vision. Thanks for being with us here again today. Enjoy it. Let's think about how you can live elevated. How can you live more? How can you leave your mark? Subscribe to our videos. Leave us some comments. If you want help or have questions, reach out to our team. You deserve to spend your retirement looking forward and not worrying about what's over your shoulder. Have a wonderful one, y'all.